Alright guys, welcome back for another video on HAIKYU Fly High, and today I'm going to do a guide on the new hell difficulty for the specialty chart. Now the number one thing a lot of people have asked me is whether or not you should even progress to the hell difficulty, and my answer for this is going to be very simple. You should definitely do it, because as long as you're actually able to beat the hard difficulty, you should be able to achieve at least 1.5 million scores on the hell difficulty. And 1.5 million score is all you need in order to break even with the rewards that you already got from hard difficulty. Okay, so anything extra on top, they are just cherry on top. Okay, so even if you're not able to get them, you at least broke even. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it. And I'm pretty sure with the strategy, especially that I'm going to show you guys today, you can easily, everyone guarantee 1.5 million score on the hell difficulty. In fact, I actually think everyone can probably comfortably achieve 3 million score regardless of the specialty as well. Okay, 4 million might be a stretch for some people, but I do feel like 3 million should be easily achievable as long as you actually follow the strategy, which I'm going to show you guys in this video. Okay, so what exactly is this going to be the strategy? The strategy is going to be quite simple. You just make full use of this position limit update. Okay, now actually, no, take one step back. The easiest way of getting high score on this is if you actually have Aran and also Kita are skill resistance 4, because basically once you have the two of them together, Aran can keep on using his stamina to do very strong spikes, and then Kita just restore that stamina back. Okay, and you just do that in a loop. Okay, so if you do actually have them have both skill resistance 4, then it's going to be very easy. In fact, Aran only needs skill resistance 2, to be honest. So if you do happen to have those, this game mode will be super easy for you. However, I know not everyone's going to have them at high skill resistance, and that's kind of what I'm going to show you guys, a free-to-play alternative on how to do that without using Aran or Kita high skill resistance, and that will be using this full advantage of position limit update and also counter specialty. Okay, so if you actually take a look at the team that I'll be showing you guys, also the demo run at the end of the video, you'll see this team looks very weird on first glance. However, it's going to make a lot more sense once you actually click on this button to see the specialty update. And that's because now with the position limit update, your team specialty is going to be determined by how many characters of the same specialty label you have on your team, and you in fact actually get stronger buff to all of your actions if you have more characters of the same label. Now what you can see here is that I am literally bringing a full team of quick characters, and that's because that allows me to get the full buff from the quick specialty. Now you might be thinking, oh, maybe I don't actually have very strong quick characters. Is that going to be important? The answer is no, it's not really going to be important, because if you actually take a look at how the specialty is decided, if you ignore the liberal who's always going to be received, then what's going to happen is that you just need at least 4 characters on your starting 6 characters to be of the same specialty. Now one thing that you have to realize is that one character can always be set to be subbed out by your liberal, and also you can make 4 substitutions in the game. So essentially, out of your 6 main starting lineup, 5 of them will be guaranteed to be swapped out. Okay, so actually in order to get this full specialty bonus, you only need 1 other characters on your team of that specialty, and all the other 5 can be changed with your substitutions and your liberal. So that's kind of what everyone can take full advantage of this by getting this full buff of the countering specialty, and then afterwards you can just swap them out. And by the way, this buff is permanent, so as long as you have this at the start of the match, this will be constantly applied throughout the entire match, even if you make substitutions afterwards. Okay, so this is going to be the number one thing you want to do. Now, like I said, if you actually do this, 1 character will always be swapped out by your liberal. Then there will be 4 other characters that you want to use, which I'll show you in a bit. And then the last one, what you want to do is you just want to pick a buffer, a passive buffer. So he doesn't need to do much. He can still buff up the power for your whole team, and he also needs to be of the right specialty, which I will also talk about in a bit. What are going to be the best choices for this slot? Okay, but here, just for demonstration, I can use someone like Hinata, because he can actually increase the sparking power for your whole team by 10%, even when he's not doing anything. Okay, he just needs to be on the field, and also because it's a quick specialty, it helped to contribute towards my specialty bonus, which then also give me an extra 5% here. Okay, and by the way, this is extra 5% for all of your actions. Okay, so in reality, if you actually want to translate this to a buff of one singular stat, this is more going to be equivalent to, I don't know, let's say a 15% increase. Okay, so the 5% extra delta you get is probably more equivalent to, let's say, a 10% or 15% increase to a singular stat. Okay, so that's kind of why this is quite important for you guys to get. Okay, so like I said, one character will be swapped out by your liberal, one will just be a passive buffer of that right specialty. Then in terms of the other four characters, who do you want to sub out? And the answer for this is that you want to always sub out two of them for Yamamoto and also Sugawara. The reason for this is, especially if you don't have Kita as skill resin 4, you will run into an issue with your stamina. And basically both of them actually have ways to reduce stamina consumption. So Sugawara can do this with his skill 3, and also if you have him as skill resonance 4 as well, okay, he can further restore stamina. And because it's just an SR character, he should be fairly easy for you guys to get skill resonance 4. Okay, then the other character is going to be Yamamoto. Once again, an SR character, so you should be able to get him fairly high leveled up. Basically, just bring. Well, to be honest, he doesn't even need skill resonance. Just his skill 3 is going to be enough, okay? Obviously, higher skill level gives you more stamina regeneration. So the two of them are going to be essentially a budget replacement if you don't have Kita as skill resonance 4. And that's kind of why they will take up 2 of your slot, okay? I personally prefer to use Subaru here, just so that I can also, for example, bring my Okawa memory here as well, okay? So that will be the 2 characters that I can bring in. Then that leaves 2 slots remaining. One of them need to be your main spiker, okay? Now, once again, if you have Aran and Jura, or if you actually have Yujima as skill resonance 2, that would be perfect because they can actually spam their ultimate attack. However, if you don't, that's also absolutely fine. What you need to do is you just need to make sure that you bring your strongest spiker basically out there available. So in my run later on, I actually done a test using Iwazumi, and that was able to get me barely into 4 minutes as well. Okay, so basically just bring your best spiker. So you'll have it here. Now, because you don't actually have someone capable of spamming spike, you need to make sure you have at least 3 spikers on your team, so that they can actually rotate around the spikes. And the 3 spikers you're going to have will just be whoever is going to be your specialty passive buffer. It's going to be your Yamamoto. Even though he's mainly used for stamina regeneration, he can still spike, okay? So you can also put a good potential and also good memory on him, so that he can also score a better point, and also your main spiker in this position. Now, if you're actually struggling to find a passive buffer of the right specialty, then you can just ignore this and bring a third spiker in the slot as well. Okay, that's also absolutely fine. Yes, you will be losing out on some of the buff you get from the specialty counter, but it's better than not having a third spiker. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And then that leaves 1 slot remaining, which is going to be a blocking position, and you want to bring either Hiragami or another blocker. Okay, and the reason why you still want another blocker on your team is that if you don't actually use a blocker on your team, very likely one of your spikers will end up doing the blocks instead, and that just reduces your stamina consumption too much. Okay, if you don't have Kita skill resonance 4, stamina consumption is still going to be an issue for you guys, even though you may have Sugawara and Yamamoto together. So that's kind of why it's still going to be a good idea to have a dedicated blocker, so that your spiker can use all of their stamina for spiking, okay, rather than end up using them for blocking. Okay, so that's basically going to be the idea for team specialty. Now, just a simple recap, always make sure you fill in at least 5, possibly all 6 member of the counter specialty to get full buff from the specialty counter. And then as soon as you enter the game, make 4 substitutions to Yamamoto, Sugawara, your main spiker, and also blocker, so that you guys have the remainder of the match using a very finely built team to get those high scores and also nice stamina continuation. Okay, so that's going to be the main idea. Now, before showing you guys the actual clip of my run, what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly show you guys all of the character possibilities that you can make depending on who you actually have on your team. Okay, so one character is always going to be filled up by your liberal, so I'm not going to talk about that. 2 characters are always going to be your Yamamoto and Sugawara, so I'm not going to talk about that either. Then what you're going to have is you're going to have your liberal position. The best choice you can have for your liberal is going to be your Komori, if you do actually have him, because he can actually passively buff your team spike. Now, if you don't have Komori, the best other alternative is going to be this SR liberal from Abajosai, and that's because he can increase the strength for your spikers, and also this will be further enhanced if you have him as skill rating 4, which once again, him being an SR character, hopefully everyone have that as well, okay? So either Komori will pick this SR liberal option instead if you don't have him. Then for your spiking option, it's just going to be your best spikers, okay? So, I don't know, if you have Yujijima, if you have Hoshimi, if you have Sakusa, Bokuto, whoever you have, just play that in your spiking option, okay? If you don't have any of them, then the best budget alternative you can go is going to be either Iwazu Yumi, or it will be the likes of Tanaka, okay? So those will be your main spiker if you don't have another good choice there. And then for your blocking position, to be honest, blocking is probably the hardest specialty to fill in because there are not actually too many good passive buffers for the block specialty or label. Basically the only choice that I can find is one's going to be Hirogami. It's going to be by far the best choice. Once again, from his skill 3, he can actually increase your team power every single turn, so he's very good. He can do the block and also passively buff up your team. The other option I can find is going to be this SR mid blocker from Inarizaki, and that's because whenever he blocks, he can recover stamina for himself. And this, whilst doesn't actually passively buff up your team, it does mean the stamina regeneration from your, there's a Yamamoto, from your Sugawara, etc., would end up going to other characters, so they will be going up to continue restoring stamina for your spikers rather than wasting it on a blocker, okay? So that can also indirectly make your team stronger because you better have stronger spikes at higher stamina level, okay? So that's basically one way you can do it. And also, once again, if you actually have him as skill rank 4, he can also increase team morale. So once again, not a direct buff, but kind of indirectly improve your team rating and team power, okay? So he's probably going to be the best budget replacement if you don't actually have Hirogami. So that's going to be your blocker position. And then the last position you're going to do is basically going to be your filler for the specialty, and you normally want to pick a passive buffer, okay? So for the power specialty weeks, what you want to do is you want to play the Tanaka, who is able to actually, this kind of needs skill rating 4, but he can actually increase your power spiking. You can even sub him out afterwards if you want. And the other easy option is going to be Iwazu Yumi, because he can provide this even without any dupe and further improve it at dupe 2, okay? So this can be your passive buffer for your power specialty. For the quick specialty, what you can do is you can play SSR Hinata, who can improve everyone's spike using his skill 1, or the other option is actually bring the setter as well, okay? So if you actually play SSR version of Kageyama, he can also improve awareness and also spiking power for your whole team, okay? So this will be your passive buffer for the quick specialty. For the received specialty, the best option is probably going to be Daichi, even though he's an SSR character, because he can actually redeem from the shop. His fragment can be redeemed from the shop every single week. Hopefully everyone have one as well by now. He can also restore stamina and also further improve spiking power whenever he doesn't receive, okay? This once again can be further improved if you actually have him as skill rating 4, but even on the base copy, skill 1 and also this ultimate, which can also buff, is going to be good enough, okay? So he can be your passive buffer for the received specialty weeks. Now, for the block specialty, it's actually going to be something slightly different, okay? Because you don't actually need a passive buffer for the block specialty. The reason is, I did talk about earlier, when you actually have members on your team, you want to make sure you at least have one blocker up front so that he can basically use all of his stamina consumption for blocks and save all of the stamina regeneration for his spikers. And as a result, because you definitely want someone capable of blocking, Hirogami is the best choice. Otherwise, you can play that SR mid blocker for Naruto. But either way, because you will need at least one blocking character up front anyway, so rather than making that blocker to be subbed on, what you're going to do for the block specialty weeks is you will just have that blocker on your starting line from the very beginning, and then instead swap out the other 5 members, okay? So the other 5 members, one will be subbed out by your liberal, the other 4 by your normal substitutions, okay? So this way, for the block specialty weeks, you don't actually need another passive buffer just for the sake of the specialty count. What you can do is you just have your blocker up front in your starting lineup, and then you just sub out the other 4 members who are not blockers instead, okay? So this way you can still get the full 6 block specialty trade and you can then still go into the substitution and bring out your main spikers, your main stamina regeneration, etc. for the remainder of the match. Okay, so that's basically the difference for the block specialty weeks. You don't actually need another passive buffer, you just bring the blocker in the starting line from the very beginning. Okay, so that's basically going to be all of the tips I'll have for you guys for the health specialty. I will show you guys a clip right now using a Wazuyumi just to show you guys you don't actually need someone dedicated to spamming of the spikes. Now, my for transparency, my Iwazuyumi is actually highly duped up. Okay, so he is actually a skill resonance 10. However, he's only at 5-star, so that kind of compensates it. So hopefully, this guy can give you guys some confidence that even if your characters are not strong enough, you should still be able to fairly achieve a fairly high score. Once again, I won't say you will be able to guarantee 4 mil, but I do feel like 3 mil should be achievable by vast majority of the people. And also, if you do actually have someone who's capable of spamming, for example, when I actually use my Ushijima, I can actually get 5 mil instead as well. Okay, so depending on who is going to be your main spiker, you should be easily able to achieve at least 3 mil, but possibly 4 mil with 5 mil as well if your team is highly leveled up. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys that clip right now. Hopefully this video is helpful for you guys, and let me know whether this strategy works for you. Did it actually improve your scores? And also, if you have any other tips, then do share it in the comment section as well. Okay.